Hello out there. My name is Roger Cultee, and this is Colleen Gorman. And I'm from the Quinault Nation out of Washington State on the Olympic Peninsula. And I just want to introduce myself, because it's really important to understand my background before I can tell you anything about, what I'm doing, really. How I started this thing is way back in the 60s, I was brought down to Arizona, to southern Arizona. And I didn't understand and didn't know anybody, and I didn't feel like I fit in. And they sent it out to my grandpa, who was living out in the reservation. Well, adopted grandpa then in Arizona. There was no running water. I mean, there was no electricity and all that other good stuff. No different than Dine is probably right now. Indirectly, he sent to my grandfather, who was a Makai, healing medicine man. And I used to go on roundups with him, with nothing but about 20 or 30 other Native people that were all nothing but medicine people. And I've been brought up by medicine people all my life, including with a medicine man who was my teacher, Lawrence, who taught me out in big fields what I know now. He passed on, allowing all of this ancient knowledge that I have in my head, which is that 260-day calendar, to be retaught to the indigenous communities. This is a great moment in time to get reconnected with our indigenous past. I'm enrolled in the Quinault Nation as a Northwest Coast tribe, as I mentioned earlier. But bloodline, I'm the great-great-grandson of Charles Cultee. And if you want to check it out, that's, Cultee, who was an interpreter and a guide for a guy named Franz Boas, Boas, the father of anthropology. And my great-great-grandfather, Charles Cultee, was a member of the Clatsop tribe. And you're wondering, who the heck is the Clatsops? Well, they're a little tiny little tribe now. They used to be a lot powerful in the good old days, but I'm down to over a few hundred members now, from what I know. We're from the mouth of the Columbia River between Oregon and Washington. But my great-great-grandfather, Charles Cultee, was the person that ran the Chinook Trade Network. Most academics are familiar with the Chinook Trade Network, being limited to, going up the river, and up the beach and around the corner and all of that, which is, nice and pretty for, the library books and all of that nonsense. But from picking up where my grandfather left off, because I officially took over my great-great-grandfather's responsibility of not only, running the Chinook Trade Network, but also learning how to understand how it operates in order, to make things happen. And in the long run, it came out that when I picked up the pieces from my great-great-grandfather, the Chinook Trade Network went a lot further than down the river and up the beach and around the corner. To be honest with you, picking up where my great-great-grandfather left off, I have a deep respect for him now, because what I understood was a lot of indigenous mathematics and equations. My class of ancestors mapped the globe. Not only mapped the globe, but they also learned how to navigate it in order to do the trade. And that I'm going to make a first announcement that the Chinook Network is a global network that extends worldwide. And the reason I'm doing this, because I'm really the last person that understands this. I mean, if you're really realistic, want to go down to it, the Clatsops already went extinct on a legal level in court, which we lost the battle, and we're trying to get recognized again. I'm still here, I'm not a figment of your imagination, which is a drag, because the Clatsop Nation are the last nation that has this knowledge of this global network. Everyone that had it before us, or that were part of it, that understood it, is no longer here. If you want to ask somebody that knew this trade network, that like I do, you'd have to go to Teotihuacan. Is anybody there? No. If you want to understand the trade network from the next people that are in line for this, you have to go to Tiwanaku, or Pumapunka. Is anybody living there anymore? No. And if you go on the other side of the world, in Tibet, there was a Guge Empire around the 1500s. They were the last people in that side of the world that knew this trade network. And they went down, Catholic Church came in, and everything went belly up after that. And the people of Altai region, they're the other people, but it's deserted in Gornaya, Shoraya right now. The other people that understood it were Sri Lankans. But you go to Sri Lanka, it's abandoned and nobody's there either. So to make a long story short, I'm really the last person that understands this knowledge, and I'm probably the last person alive that even knows how it operates and knows how it works. And that's the very reason why I'm trying to get this down, because realizing that I'm probably the only person that really understands it inside and out. It might be a good idea for me to document it. I'm getting close to 70 years old, so I'm not getting any younger. And the quarantine made me think more about the knowledge I did have, because, I mean, what if that happens to me? I mean, you know, that's bad enough that I die, yeah. But to die with all this knowledge, that's what bothered me. And then I decided I need to figure a way how to document this before it gets lost again. Because there's various pieces that are all connected, but other tribes have their little pieces of the puzzle. But I have all the pieces of the puzzle that I can see the picture. Or in other words, it takes the Maya 13 in order for this to work. But they don't understand how it works because they're not Chinook. It takes the Anasazi 16, the Zia symbol, from the New Mexico. It takes to understand the mathematics of how that works, you know, and the combining the two to use it to come up with the real pi, and not the one that they're using today. That's the three. I just don't know one that's going out there. And you know, to understand and how to put it all together, and then to take it with my Chinook people up there, whose tradition is business. And that's all we ever did. We're canoe people. And if you go up there with the Quinaults from we're the red canoe people, we knew how to go out into the ocean, to go up the coast to Alaska. We knew how many ways you needed to go out, to go south, down not only to California, but also to Easter Island. Because that mystery wall that's in California is our Chinook alignment wall that lines the Columbia River to Easter Island, so we could trade with South America as well as the Polynesian Islands, because it's connected to Tahiti and across from there. And if you ask a Mayan, they wouldn't know this. If you ask the Pueblo, they wouldn't know this. If you asked anybody else in any other tribe, they wouldn't know this, because they're not a part and didn't create the Chinook trade network. So with that being said, this is the very reason why I'm trying to document this down and trying to get it out. I'm not here to prove anything to academics. I'm not here to, you know, to prove anything to, you know, to be honest, to the colonialist. I mean, you know, they have their religious and political agendas already, you know, set, and their minds are already made up what they're doing, you know, and it has nothing to do with what I'm doing. I'm doing this for the indigenous people of the world. And when I mean indigenous, I just don't mean the red man. At one time, all races were indigenous at the beginning: the white, the black, the yellow. And the only one that's left that's holding on to it is the red man. We need the other three races to come back home and be indigenous again. You got yourselves too removed from the natural world. You don't understand the natural sciences anymore. As a matter of fact, to be honest with you, a lot of what you're doing is just made up. There's a lot of indigenous knowledge that could be taken from this that could help the modern world, not only in the sense that, oh, this is what the equation is, but to have a better understanding of the native culture that is here. There's more to the Americas than what you've seen since you've been here since 1492. That's not long enough for you to be here to know us, let alone the land. There's a lot more to this land and the people here than you could ever understand. There's more history that's a lot longer, than the 15,000 years or so that they give, that we, walk backwards across the Bering Strait. But, the colonial view, you can't go past 15,000 years because you're trying to exploit the people and the land. And that screws up all science and research because of that very reason. We need to get it out of the politics and out of the religious agenda to get to the real science, get to the real research, and eventually get to the real indigenous people. Bottom line is that I'm fed up with non-natives talking to other non-native Indian experts about us, but they don't even bother to talk to us. We haven't forgotten everything. We just had to act stupid for 500 years because of the Inquisition. We had to act stupid for 500 years because we had to live under American rule. You went out and to be native, well, that was asking to get shot in the head. Don't you understand that? 500 years later, we could finally come out and tell you. Oh, as a matter of fact, I need to tell other native people, we were only acting to be stupid. A lot of us are starting to think we're stupid after 500 years. That's the other thing, but it's a native issue. they fell for it. But I think we were great actors for 500 years. And I think after 520 years, maybe, you've grown up enough to maybe begin to learn who we really are and not who you think we are.
They say that, each month is like a deity standing. It'll have a regalia. It will be standing like a person.
Our whole totem poles are made out of bilateral symmetry, which is our art. Came down here and I noticed that the Mimbres and the art of the Mayans and Aztecs is the same thing as my totem pole art. It's only encoded. The same process, same stories.
the premise of what we try to cover on Wednesdays in ethnomathematics is that mathematics is something that is done by all people, all cultures, everywhere in the world. If you have any questions, just click on the raise hand icon and we will get those questions answered.
Indigenous physics are based on three numbers, 13, 26, and 16. So what I'm really trying to do is what I feel that most of what we know today has been turned into legend and myth. And I'm working on back engineering to turning it back into the ancient science that it once was. Your love, innocence, flies within.
Without any more waiting, let's get right to the show. But I've been working with my friends Roger Cultee and Colleen Gorman on this amazing project. They've been watching my YouTube videos where I've been going and exploring ancient petroglyph sites and different indigenous locations and trying to help restore some of the lost mysteries of some of these locations and how we can reconnect with them and heal and drop our different cultural boundaries as we do that, and as well talk about maybe Mount Wilson and Skinwalker Ranch and other things. But Roger and Colleen, I'm so excited to have you guys on the show, and I could do a whole show just talking about you guys, but I want to let you guys tell your own story.
These numbers right here proves that the Anunnaki were using this chart to map the heavens and the earth, or they wouldn't need directions of all of this sort, of the east, north, south, west, let alone southeast and northeast. I haven't even gotten to these others that have numbers too, which divides it even further. I'm even finding out the Lakota divided it into 32, which is a 0.08125, 32 segments, which is 16 times 2, but that's another story too with the Lakota. But basically I wanted to show that with a correlation between the 260-day calendar, which is supposed to be for Mesoamerica, and how it correlates with the Zia symbol, which is a circle divided into 16 equal sections, that has the same numbers that are found in here are here. But this is really what is the mind boggler. This is, like I was saying earlier, is the computer. This is the base that everything's based on. This is what we do call the common denominator for everything operates in the universe. It's 260. Everything. But if you take these numbers and you take it to the Zia symbol, this is the number cruncher. Because you take the numbers you found from 1.625, not only does it give you scientific equations like I just showed you for a tetrahedron, but each of these numbers that are on here, and there's a lot of them, are longitude markers for places that are located on the Earth where ancient megalithic structures, ancient cities, temples, or pyramids that were on the surface or could be underwater right now. It marks every longitude for every ancient spot in the world. You don't have to dig up anybody's bones to find it. You just got to look to the stars.
My name's Colleen Gorman, and today I'll be showing you some basic information about the 260-day sacred calendar. The 260-day calendar was actually shared by tribes of the Americas, so all the way from North America down to South America. It is a star calendar. It is tied to Venus and Pleiades.